Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel. This is another one of the continuing series of uke guide reviews. And although I've reviewed this ukulele before, I wanted to do so under that uke guide umbrella. This is my Flight TUS 35 ukulele. This is a great ukulele, and I ended up buying this about, I don't know, maybe a half a year ago or so when it went on a ridiculous sale, just this color at Amazon. I mean, it was like $29 or something, and at that point I just had to get one and try it out and see what it was like. And to be honest with you, what ended up happening is I got together with my friend Ukester Brown. You can find his channel right here on YouTube as well. I'll try to remember to put a card up about his channel. But he and I got together one afternoon and played, many ukuleles together. And I had brought this one. I was curious what his thoughts were, and he pulled out his Magic Fluke. Now, I don't own a Magic Fluke. I need to buy a Magic Fluke. Side note, Magic Fluke was one of the companies that really brought ukulele back into our culture again as a popular instrument, connected with Jim Beloff, who is the arranger and composer that made all those books like the Daily 365 and the Jumping Jim books. His sister is married to a fellow that started making ukuleles, and they went into business together, and it's called the Magic Fluke Company. Anyhow, those ukuleles are highly regarded. They have a wood top and a ABS back and sides, which sounds very similar, but then they have a wood neck and then kind of a unique sort of friction tuner solution, although you can buy other things on the top. So it does differ a little bit. And Flight started producing this, and it's different than other ukuleles that are out there too. For example, the Dolphin or the Shark by Macalla, a sub-company of Kella brand. They have a wood top and a plastic body, but then they have a wood neck. And then there are companies that just make all plastic ukuleles, like the Baoli that I reviewed. But this is kind of yet a different hybrid with a plastic back and sides, a plastic neck, a wood top, a little bit of a wood plate on the very, very top here of the headstock, and it makes a different deal. Well, anyway, so with my friend Ukester, we are playing all these ukuleles, including his concert size, mind you, Magic Fluke, and we were shocked that this thing sounded incredibly close the Magic Fluke, which is highly regarded, and at least 3 or 4 times the price of what this one is. So that really changed my mindset even further about this instrument, and I guess mostly I can't say enough good things about it. Are there some bad things? Yeah, and we'll talk about that in this review, but in general, this is a winner, and you can find them all over the place. And the good news is that they're now distributed by Hal Leonard. Flight Ukuleles as a whole is being distributed by Hal Leonard, and Hal Leonard is in every music store. So if you want a Flight ukulele, you no longer have to order from flight.com or whatever the website is, or from one of their sub-dealers. You can go to any music store that carries Hal Leonard and order one of these, or you can order it offline. Or online, I should say. Offline would be through the store, online would be online, right? So this is the TUS 35. This one's the LB light blue. I probably wouldn't have chosen that color had it been an option at the same price point, but I just wanted to see what it's about, and now this is a keeper. I did add strap buttons. They would probably not recommend it, but the secret that I do to that is I actually drill into it. I put super glue on the screw and super glue on the actual button, and then tighten it down until it doesn't move and let the super glue harden. And that hasn't been a problem for me, but just so you know, it would probably void a warranty, but that's my choice, and I put the other strap button there if I want to use a strap button. And again, these are about $50. On Amazon they cost more, but you can just do a web search and you can find that reputable general music stores and other things, including Hal Leonard's own websites, will offer these around $49 with free shipping if you don't need it in the next day or two. The value is incredibly good for what you're getting. As I mentioned, you're getting the sound, or very close to the sound, of a much more expensive instrument for a fraction of the price. The build quality overall is very good. I'll just tell you a couple of things that I didn't like, and I'll just go over that really quickly. First one is I'm not a big fan of kind of the washed out paint. It's light blue and it's really hard to tell, but I get it. It's a style. It's a style of paint. But you can actually see it's kind of almost like a bluish stain that kind of seeps through, and it's not steady. I don't know. I would just like solid and smooth. And you can buy versions of this with like a print and other things on that don't have that. So I won't dock the instrument for that because I think it's stylistic and they have ones that don't have that. But just the core colors kind of bleed through intentionally with that look. So just so you're aware of that. The one area I think the most glaring to me of where just an ounce more would have helped is around the sound hole edge where you can see that it's a laminate top, which is not a surprise to anyone, mind you, but around that edge you can see that the paint isn't just all the way done. So it would have just taken a second for the person putting this ukulele together, or when they painted it or stained it, to make sure the sound hole was stained smoothly all the way around. That's the one true flaw for me on this ukulele. And it's not a major flaw. It doesn't impact playing at all, but just is one of those things that you look at and go, oh, I wish that would be. Because you see it. You see it when you look down. You can see where the paint ends or the stain ends and so forth. The other thing that, and this is being super nitpicky, is that this edge, which the wood soundboard sits in, kind of a ledge in there, it's a fraction, I mean, it's not even a millimeter. It's a fraction of a millimeter too tall, so that when you hold it, you feel that edge where you didn't have to. So I wish that edge were just bumped down, I mean, just a fraction of a millimeter. I might even take a sandpaper at some point and just sand that down, and I think that would resolve it. But you would hope that, you know, it would do that. And that's being really, really, really nitpicky. But hey, it's a review, and that's what I'm supposed to do. So, build quality overall is pretty good. A couple little nitpicky things. Available down with Hal Leonard just about anywhere you want it to be. The playability is very good. It has very wide spacing for a soprano. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And the one negative of the playability is that the action or fret spacing or the string spacing above the fret at the 12th fret is at 3 millimeters, which is a little high for me. I wish it was down, again, maybe 2.65, 2.5. I'd like it a little bit lower, and there's no way to adjust that. And that's the one thing in playability. Now, can you still play it at 3 millimeters? Absolutely. Is it a fatal flaw? Not by any means, but just I personally wish it was a little bit lower. The sound quality, again, it is amazing how much this sounds like a Magic Fluke, if that's the standard and gold standard of such a creation. It's loud. It carries a lot of resonance. It continues to sustain for a long time. It has brightness in it. Yet it has a little bit of the, because of the body, a little bit of the tubbiness of the plastic. So it doesn't sound like a full wood ukulele, but it also doesn't sound like a plastic ukulele. So it's kind of an interesting hybrid, and I think that's a great sound, and again, very, very close to what a Magic Fluke sounds like. So let's talk about the details. It is a soprano instrument. Now here's where it also differs a little bit. From my own measurements, from the 0 fret, and if you can see, it has a 0 fret. So it has a nut and then a 0 fret that says, okay, this is where the string starts vibrating. So it runs through the nut over the top of that 0 fret to keep the intonation right for the whole instrument. Great, especially with a plastic instrument. Make sure that you're in good shape. So from the 0 fret to the saddle, it's 14 inches, which is basically a half inch or a full inch longer than most sopranos. So just keep that in mind. So if you're playing it and it doesn't feel as constricted as a normal soprano does to you, and you're coming from concert or tenor, that's why. It's actually a longer scale length. It's like more than halfway to a concert, and the string spacing is equal to that of some larger tenors or even some baritones that I know of. So keep that in mind. Very, very playable with a 14-inch scale length. 15 frets. And by the way, one of the other nice little touches I like is I like that they have like almost the Martin dovetail there at the bottom of the fretboard. That's nice. I like that little deal. It has side marker dots. It's a traditional double body with a wood laminate fretboard, ABS, back, sides, and neck. The fretboard is plastic. And this is another thing I like about their design, is that it uses a slotted bridge, and it's not a huge bridge. It's just very small. Doesn't seem to be screwed in at all, but then has these nice round open spots on the bottom so you can change strings pretty easily. I like, I've talked about in other reviews, outdoor ukulele and how much I like their design. This would be a close second in terms of changing strings and other things. So I like that a lot. It does not have a radius fretboard. It's flat. The nut and the saddle are locked in. You're not going to change them. They're set at what they're set at. So even though I talk about not really loving the string height action at the 12th fret of being 3.0 millimeters, which we'll come back to later, you can't change that lower. But what I did want to show you is, if you can see here, the saddle itself is compensated, which means that on the higher notes, it's slanted this way, so it makes the string a little bit shorter. And then on the thicker strings, it's slanted this way, so it's a little bit longer, so you get better intonation. I kind of like that, and that's a nice touch showing you on the design of the instrument. The finish is really flat, and again, I'm not a big fan of the way that it looks faded and washed out, but again, I get that that's a style. The overall length is just over 21.5 inches, and it weighs 1 pound, 1.7 ounces, but some of that is the extra weight that I added with those strap buttons. The geared tuners, they seem to work just fine. They're just generic open geared tuners, not huge buttons. I know purists would like, hidden buttons on the side, but, whatevs, it works. The action at the first fret is wonderful, 0.5 millimeters, so it makes playing on this end of the instrument really comfortable. Nice and low there, especially as you start learning how to play that F shape for the first time, or some of your bar chords. Works really nicely with that. Action at the 12th fret, as I've now mentioned about 12 times in this video, is 3.0 millimeters at the 12th, a little high, but hey. The nut width is 36 millimeters, just over. The space between strings at the first fret is 9.36 millimeters, which is really spacious for a soprano. The overall space between G to A at the first fret is almost 31 millimeters. And then the depth at the third fret, another thing I like to check is the depth of an instrument. Now, I just mentioned this in another video that will be released before this one, so I'll be repeating myself in 2 consecutive videos. But Barry Mazik, Got a Ukulele, talks about the C shape of many import ukuleles of the neck, and he calls them like a baseball bat. And this one would be similar in that rounded profile of a neck, but the difference is at the third fret, it's only about 21 millimeters deep from the top of the strings to the back of the neck, making it not so thick of a baseball bat that you're holding, making it a little easier to play. So that's all good. So, in summary, kind of a different approach with a plastic neck. And by the way, some of you might say, can you make it warble by bending the neck? And the answer is, yeah, I'll show you a little bit. If I really go at it, I can make a tremolo with the neck, but you don't have to do that by all means, and it doesn't happen naturally. You have to force it to happen. So yeah, with the plastic neck, you get a little more movement than you would perhaps with the wood, but it works. It works, and the combination of this makes for a great travel ukulele. Now, don't leave this one in your hot car in the summer. It will melt. This is not an outdoor ukulele made of polycarbonate. I would also not take this into water because it's got a wood top. If it would get wet accidentally, like in a rainstorm, and you could wipe it off, that'd be fine. But I wouldn't leave it out overnight. you know, I wouldn't tempt fate like that, particularly as the wood seems a little bit open pored with the stain or the paint that they use. I think you're asking for trouble. But in terms of a generally rugged ukulele, it's decent. It comes with a very thin gig bag, and I'll be honest with you, I was looking for the gig bag, and I can't find it. And the truth is that I would never use it. It's such a thin gig bag that it comes with. It's more like a desk cover, honestly. So if you're really a person that's invested in having a gig bag, you're going to want to look for a separate gig bag with a little more padding to haul this thing around in. It has a lot of great features. I like this a lot. There's another competitor that has recently copied this. They got very close to this, but this is better. And the two features that I think that really make it better, actually three features. Number one is the scale length of almost being 14 inches. Number two is this really awesome bridge that they use. The number three is this super, and we haven't talked about this super arched back. Do you see that thing? I mean, it looks almost like a beetle. It's that, you know, that shaped. And I think that really impacts the sound. Whoever designed this really thought well about it. Now, with that arched back comes one other negative, and it's not truly a negative, but it's there, is that you get that kind of dimple from the molding process, where its competitor doesn't have that on the back. I don't know where they injected it to make it work. Maybe they found a way to put it right in the top where the neck meets the body. But this shape, I think, makes the difference more than anything else, along with, of course, the scale length, of making this instrument sound like that magic flute, make it sound better, brighter, more power, and everything else. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this. If you're looking between the two instruments, between this and between the competitors, this is the better instrument for about $10 more. And then on the same thought, I would definitely look at one of these instead of a Waterman, unless you needed the all plastic construction. I would look at one of these in place of a dolphin or in place of a shark, unless you just like those. By all means, those are good ukuleles too. But this is really incredible value for the price, for the sound that you're getting. So check out the uke guide that I've created at ukestuff.info. You can also find that at ukeguide.info, and those are downloadable for you for free. And I'll leave you with that. So thanks so much for watching the video, and we'll catch you next time.